Okay, so for the first step to make the clock, we're going to need a square. I'm going to start that right in the center at the origin. If your view doesn't look like mine, you can go to Cameras, Standard Views, Top. Make sure that it's there. Start at the origin, click and drag out, and make a 3-foot by 3-foot block. Then I want you to make a circle in the center for the clock. To find the exact center, it's a little difficult, so what you have to do is you actually have to hover over the midpoint of the top of the square and then slowly move down and hover over to the left side midpoint, and then you should get a point that has a green and red dotted line that lets you know you're in the center. Click and drag and place the edge at the edge of the square. Now we're going to offset 1 inch inward, 1 inch, enter, and then we're going to push pull this 1 inch out. Okay, we're going to use 1 inch as kind of a standard measurement throughout the exercise. Alright, so now what I want to do is take the tape measure, and I want to make sure that I'm snapped onto the inside of this. I'm going to start to move down along the green axis and go 1 inch in, right? And then I'm going to take the line tool and I'm going to draw a line going this way, 1 inch that way, and then 1 inch this way. From there, 1 inch, make sure you're on the red for that, and then we'll go from here and we'll start drawing 1 inch out. Okay, and now we'll connect these because I want a triangle. And then we will erase this middle portion. Okay. Now the next thing I want actually is to draw the lines from the midpoints of the circle. So I'm going to draw here. I'm going to draw here, making sure I'm on the bottom face. Same thing on the other side because I need to find the exact center of this circle and do that. Okay, good. Now I'm going to extrude, push-pull this, but first I want to get rid of that line in the middle. Okay, but I'm going to push-pull this out 1 inch. Okay, so we have the 12 o'clock. All right, I'm going to color that with the paint bucket. Let's go with purple. I'm going to color that surface purple, that one, and don't forget the top. So I'm going to have to orbit. And I'm actually going to erase this line while I'm there if it lets me. It does. Excellent. Okay. Alright. So now we have that. Now, what we are going to now practice is rotating and copying. First thing I need to do, though, is I need to make this a group. So I'm going to click on one surface, control-click on it, and say select all with same material. Control-click again and say make group. I'm not worried about making it a component this time. I'm just going to make it a group. Now, with that selected, all grouped together that way, here's what you're going to do. You are going to choose this tool. This is the rotate tool, the circle, arrows pointing in circles around each other. You're going to start at the point you want to rotate around, which would be the center of the clock. Click once. Then this is going to be a little tricky. You're going to have to go up and find the bottom tip of that triangle and click it. And now, since we want to make a copy, we're going to tap the Option key. I'm going to start rotating down to 6 o'clock. Okay? Click there and do 2/enter, and we'll get 2 copies. Now I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to get the 3 o'clock. I'm going to make sure that I'm lined up there, and whoops, I'm going to escape out of there. I'm going to click here. That's pre-selected, that's good. Option key, click, and actually in this case I can just simply drag it over and snap it onto that line, make sure it's snapped on properly, and we have 12, 3, 6, and 9. Alright, so now we need some hands on the clock. So what I'm going to do is create a circle in the center. I'm going to start and go out, let's say 3 inches. All right, and actually makes it fairly big. Then I'm going to make a 1 inch. I don't want these to connect, so starting with the 12 o'clock line, I'm going to use the tape measure, from the bottom of that point and pull downward 1 inch, enter. Alright, and I get a dot. Alright, from that dot, I want to start at that point as a guide point, click and drag, and I really want to meet where the edge of the circle meets, and you'll see that there's a little slightly different area here. That's okay. I want to meet the intersection of the edge of the circle and the next one. I could go a bunch of other places, but I'm just going to go here and do the same thing here. Alright, this will be the minute hand. Okay, it's a really big minute hand, I know. So now I'm going to take the eraser and very carefully come in here and erase this. Very carefully come on the other side, erase this. Very carefully erase this and this. Alright, so now I have, I'm going to leave this crosshairs in the middle because we will need it to rotate it. Now I'm going to select all of these by hitting the Shift key, including these lines. Alright, and I'm going to push-pull. No, okay, never mind. I'm going to push-pull these individually. I'm going to click and start to drag out. Make sure you're going outward 1 inch, not 1 foot. Same thing again. 1 inch here, which we can do it by lining it up that way. Here and here. Alright, now we're going to group those together. So we're still going to keep that X on there. So we're going to, let's paint bucket this. So we'll go with, I don't know, no, that's ugly. Let's go with a green color, clover. Don't forget that you're going to have to rotate to see under here, orbit, so you can get this part. Okay, and don't forget to orbit around the other sides to make certain that you can see where it is that you have not painted yet. And there. Alright, now we're going to make this whole thing one thing by control clicking on it. Click select, go to all same material, so we get that. Control click again. Oops, I'm sorry. Let me try that again. Select all with same material. Control click again, make group. Okay, and now what we want to do is we want to make a copy of this, which this is going to be a little tricky. So first of all, I want to show you that you can now rotate this because we left this here. You can now rotate this differently without making a copy. If I click the center here and then I come out on an edge, this is a good way to get used to using the rotate tool. Alright, I can now change this to 9 o'clock, although we have a block that is moving with it. Alright, which we don't quite know why that's happening. Alright, so I'm going to undo that. Alright, so at this point I want to make a copy first, so I'm going to use the move tool. This is now, or it was a block, I just unmade that, so let me make it again. Make a group, and then I'm going to move, copy that, and I'm going to tap the option key so I can click this and drag it off to the side. Let's drag it off to the corner here for now. So now I have my own copy. Now I'm going to use the scale tool because I actually need this to be smaller. And I'm going to grab a section of this and I'm going to click and drag inward and I'm going to type 0.5 and that will shrink it down to half the size of what it was. I now grab that to move it again. I can place it right in the middle. Now it's right inside of this, which makes no sense. So I will click that, click here, and start to pull, and now you have what appears to be almost like a moving clock. Okay, so that gives you the basic idea of how to make the clock. Oops. And so what I would like you to try to do is I would like you to try to make a couple more clocks and label them up above with the time. This happens to be the hour hand is at 9, so we're talking about 9 o'clock. And I'm going to place that up above. Okay, so for the 4, make 2 more clocks at different times using this type of technique. Also think about how can you get all 12 of these around the outside. So for 4, do at least one of these with all 12 around the outside, these little divots, markers, and get creative with the hands as well. You could also have done, and I didn't do this, but I could have used the freehand tool drawn on top of these hands, just free drawing on top, and tried to make a more interesting clock hand, for example, although that doesn't look very interesting. Alright, so consider that. You can also mirror something, so if you want to, for example, if I have a block here and I do this and draw arc on this side, okay, I could draw a little free drawn thing in the middle here. Okay, if I wanted to mirror this, what I could do is select this entity and select the whole thing with the drag tool, okay, and then I could click the scale tool and I could drag it backwards and it would go in the opposite direction like so. Right, and then you could also do that by making a copy, pulling it aside, okay, making that same copy, and then you can scale it, go the other direction, okay, it helps if you keep track of the numbers you're using on the scale, and then you can drag it back and you can have your mirrored face, although we had some looping there. Alright, okay, so for the 4, make 2 more clocks with some more intricate details and with different times than the ones that are here.